Welcome to Hypnosis Today, the nation's first web TV talk show that explores the fascinating world of hypnotherapy. Hello, my name is Lisa Machenberg, and I'll be your host, covering a wide variety of subjects to help you understand the power of the subconscious mind and how hypnosis is being used today to help people achieve success, prosperity, and happiness. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my guest, Kim Hawthorne. Now, Kim is an honors graduate of HMI's College of Hypnotherapy. She is also a hypnotherapist with an office right here in Los Angeles, California. Today, our topic is going to be using hypnotherapy to help our clients process traumatic loss. Please help me welcome my guest, Kim. Now, Kim, this is such an interesting topic. It's such a loving topic. How did you get interested in specializing in hypnotherapy with traumatic loss?
I had a personal experience 9 years ago with a traumatic loss. I gave birth to a baby, a little girl. She was born prematurely and only lived for 7 hours.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yes, that was extremely traumatic, and it has changed my life.
Oh, of course. And yet, I'm really impressed that you use that life-altering experience to bring the gift of some of the techniques that we're going to discuss today. Mm-hmm. But before we delve into them, can you explain to us what is traumatic loss as opposed to other kinds of losses?
A traumatic loss is what we normally term as a sudden loss. Mm-hmm. It's unexpected. It blindsides us. So those type of losses could be suicide, murder, an accidental loss, a serviceman in the Army, serving, dying. That's something sudden, something that we don't have time to plan for.
Sure. So it would be differentiated with someone who has, God forbid, a traumatic, a terminal illness. And we have time to prepare.
That's right.
So it would be sudden onset and certainly unexpected.
Yes.
Now, I don't mean to minimize the things we're talking about, but can someone experience the same kind of symptoms of traumatic loss with things like the loss of a job or a divorce?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If it's something that's sudden. A husband can come home and say, honey, I'm leaving you. Yes. That's traumatic. Sure. Someone could be at work one day and get a pink slip the next day. Yes. That's also a traumatic loss.
What are the symptoms that we'll see in our office of someone who needs to process a traumatic loss?
One of the main symptoms is anxiety. People come in with anxiety. They come in with insomnia. They have a feeling of being overwhelmed emotionally. They feel vulnerable. It's hard for them to focus. They're walking around in a fog. Sure. They can feel angry, loss of control. Those are some of the symptoms.
Well, here I need to ask, since we're hypnotherapists, when do we need a referral?
Of course, if there's any talk of not going on with life, of suicide, if they're despondent, if they're overly isolated. Yes. And also one of the things I look for, because I assign homework, if I have a client that can't seem to follow through on the homework that I give them, I realize that something's going on here, that they're not functioning properly.
Sure. Well, that gives us a pretty good view of what it is. Take us through some of the methodologies that we can use to help people process traumatic loss.
My approach is one of meeting the client wherever they are emotionally. Here in our Western society, we're really quick to medicate our emotions and to shove that down. And what I try to do in my practice is to allow the emotions to live, to blossom, to breathe, just as if you were to pop open a bottle of wine. Let that aroma come out. And what I do is I assist the client in coping with whatever those emotions are.
Yes.
I try to help them become comfortable with being sometimes uncomfortable.
Comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's
Yes.
a big concept for a society that's more into escaping from being uncomfortable. Can you speak to that?
Sure. What I'd like to speak to is exactly one of the modalities that I use, and that's one of our anchoring techniques that we know as hypnotherapists. When a client comes in and they're dealing with a traumatic loss, since it's a sudden thing and we haven't had time to prepare for it, you find yourself having to do your daily activities while still trying to process the fact that you've lost something or someone. And so they're suffering from anxiety. So what I do is I give them an anchoring technique where I say, hey, if you know you have to go back to work in 2 weeks, because you do, and you're at work and you start to feel overwhelmed and anxious, place your hands together, inhale, take that deep breath, exhale, 3, 2, 1, and say your word that's going to ground you. For me, the word is calm.
Yes.
Some people say comfort, joy, resiliency, whatever that word is for them, that's going to give them that immediate grounding.
Sure.
I don't want them to run away from their feelings, but you do need to be able to cope in your daily life with trying to process. It's like the conscious and the subconscious trying to meet each other and get a grip on the loss.
They sure collide.
Yes.
Because this wasn't a traumatic loss. My mom was very sick. We knew she was dying, but then she died.
Yeah.
And there I am at the funeral thinking, I still have to pick up the kids at 3 o'clock at tennis. How can those two things exist in the same universe?
It's very challenging. It's very challenging. My aunt died, and she died over in the night in her sleep. And my mom called my cousin, and she said, your mom passed away. And my cousin went to work that day, and a coworker said, honey, are you okay? And she said, I just found out my mother died. But she didn't know what else to do except just to go to work. And I believe that that's the subconscious saying, hey, let's stay normal, let's do what we know, let's do our habitual thing. And it takes a while for it to catch up with the conscious knowing this person has passed.
Oh, sure, and that's going right to the known.
Yeah.
And maybe if you go to work and everything looks the same and feels the same and smells the same, maybe the bad thing really didn't happen.
Yeah, it's challenging.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, my big question is twofold. Whenever there's loss or traumatic loss, people, friends, even the closest friends, they say stupid things. Certainly when there's been a miscarriage, there's all kinds of wild things people say, including, I'm sure that was a blessing. When someone dies, they can say, well, that person's in a better place. So first of all, as a hypnotherapist, why do you think people say stupid stuff? And then I'll ask the second question second.
I think it's 2 reasons. I think they want to make you feel better. They want to make you feel better, and they're hoping they're going to say something that's going to magically make you feel better. And I think, secondly, they want to feel better. It's an awkward situation to be in when someone suffers that type of loss. And so they're trying to say something that maybe will make them feel more comfortable in the situation.
Sure, because if traumatic loss happens, it can happen to anyone.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So of course, where I'm going with the second question is, when someone has suffered a traumatic loss and your very best friend says something really stupid, how do you help your clients process it and not run out of the room screaming?
Once again, they can choose to anchor themselves, or they can prepare themselves with suggestions at night, like we teach people to write down their suggestions to themselves before they go to sleep. To say something like, people mean well.
Yes.
I accept the fact that people mean well in their thoughts, actions, words, and deeds.
Beautiful. What's the best thing to say as a friend or family member?
Well, I'm going to tell you that when I lost Bailey, who is my daughter, a lot of crazy things were said to me that hurt from people that I adored and who adored me, who meant well.
Yes.
But there was a friend of mine, my dear friend Sharon, and we were talking on the phone, and I told her, and what she said was, I'm so sorry, there are no words. And that was the most understanding, kindest thing that anyone had said to me in that situation, because there are no words.
Wow. If people even take that, people have gotten a great gift.
Yeah.
As one hypnotherapist to another, and everybody else, can you teach us some of your favorite post-hypnotic suggestions?
Sure. I choose to honor my loved one with every breath I take. I have the ability to navigate through all of my emotions courageously, truthfully, and fearlessly. My resiliency allows me to face my sadness and acknowledge my grief. and I give myself permission to feel.
Great. The last question I have for you. You spoke about homework. I promised you I didn't forget. What kind of homework do you give people?
Well, I'll share with you one of my homework assignments that is one of my favorite. I asked them to get a little box. It's a keepsake box. And I asked them once a month to go out on a date with their loved one that has passed away. And what they do is they do something that they like to do together. So for instance, if it was going to the beach, if that's a good positive memory, go to the beach, spend time with yourself, think about that loved one, give it that space, and take home to the keepsake box something like some sand or a shell. Write a little note to the person. This is a way of keeping a positive relationship with your loved one that's passed on, because just because they're gone physically here doesn't mean that we can't continue to have a positive relationship with them.
Kim, I love that. Everybody
Thank
here,
you.
everyone here is going to want to find out more information about how we can treat our clients who are struggling with traumatic loss. Maybe even someone has seen this program today who'd like to come in and process traumatic loss with you. I know that everyone can get hold of you on Kim Hawthorne on hmigrads.com. So I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts and teaching us what we need to know to help clients who are struggling with traumatic loss. I want to thank everybody here in our studio audience and those of you who are watching at home. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we'll be back with more Hypnosis Today. Traumatic loss.
I had a personal experience 9 years ago with a traumatic loss. I gave birth to a baby, a little girl. She was born prematurely and only lived for 7 hours.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yes, that was extremely traumatic, and it has changed my life.
Oh, of course. And yet, I'm really impressed that you use that life-altering experience to bring the gift of some of the and I'll be your host, covering a wide variety of subjects to help you understand the power of the subconscious mind and how hypnosis is being used today to help people achieve success, prosperity, and happiness. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my guest, Kim Hawthorne. Now, Kim is an honors graduate of HMI's College of Hypnotherapy. She is also a hypnotherapist with an office. Welcome to Hypnosis Today, the nation's first web TV talk show that explores the fascinating world of hypnotherapy. Hello, my name is Lisa Machenberg. Techniques that we're going to discuss today. But before we delve into them, can you explain to us what is traumatic loss as opposed to other kinds of losses?
A traumatic loss is what we normally term as a sudden loss. It's unexpected. It blindsides us. So those type of losses could be suicide, murder, an accidental loss.
It's right here in Los Angeles, California. Today, our topic is going to be using hypnotherapy to help our clients process traumatic loss. Please help me welcome my guest, Kim. Now, Kim, this is such an interesting topic. It's such a loving topic. How did you get interested in specializing in hypnotherapy with